Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Less Non-Classics. Episode number 1217 and Doubleshot number 1111. Yeah, this one discussing the last two trades to collect issues from Volume 4 for The Flash, and these also are the last two of four discussed for Robert Venditti's run for the book. Yep, Robert Venditti, the guy who wrote Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps at the same time, and continued writing Green Lantern up until very recently, like as about 2 years ago. He has left the book, and I think the most recent book he's working on is Hawkman, which is actually ending really soon after 29 issues. Yeah, let's discuss the first two trades here that collect as well, and these are the last ones to discuss because, well, Venditti's run, from what I remember about it, that I heard it was a couple people, this run was not very popular with a lot of people. When it was coming, it had some interesting ideas with it. I think it was okay at best, though it did have some interesting ideas. Okay, now he co-wrote this book with Van Jensen, who was his co-writer on the Green Lantern Corps series. Now, the artwork for this entire run, with the exception of the last arc, was drawn by Brett Booth. Yep, Brett Booth. Now, this trade and the next one is basically a 11-part storyline. 12 if you include the features in it. They include it in here too. Where it's all about this guy here. You're probably thinking, okay, who is the guy in blue? That's the Flash from the future. Yep. Now, does features have anything to do with this version of the character? No. No, it doesn't. This is a version of Barry Allen from the future. And fun fact about this character, believe it or not, this character was basically used as a partial basis for Savitar, the main villain of the Flash live-action TV series, their season of the show. Yeah, pretty much what they did, well, this is what I heard. They took this character and combined him with Savitar, the character of Mark Reno, who simply was a minor villain. It took aspects of both those characters, combined them, and made him the Savitar villain we have for Season 3. And that's also where, like, because Savitar is also used sort of a blue light. That's where this came from. Oh, and the thing about this Blue Flash is, he's a murderer. Oh my gosh, this guy keeps killing people. Like, he kills the rogues. Yes, he kills Captain Cold, like, in the most plays way possible. Like, he basically kills Mirror Master by basically trapping him in the Mirror Universe. And, like, he does a bunch of other things. And he tries to, like, in this first story arc, which, by the way, he also, in Ultimate Future, he kills Daniel West, a.k.a. the Reverse Flash. Now, this book contains issues 30 and 35, the third annual, which also was from what I can tell, I think it was the last annual they published for this line, and it features in one shot. Now, this first arc here, is the debut of a version of a character that was extremely unpopular. Like, there are fans of this character. Yes, I acknowledge the fact there are fans. There are people who are fans of the classic version of this character that, oh my gosh, like, when you see who it is, you're probably like, really? And here he is, Wally West, who has been reskinned to be a black kid. I'm like, yeah, like, I was familiar with Wally West thanks to the Just Like TV show. I was reading the comic book at the time. When I started reading The Flash, Barry Allen was The Flash. That was back in 2010. Now, the thing is, I later on read some Flash, some Wally West stuff, which is really good. Yeah, a lot of the Wally West stuff, basically, a lot of people know about The Flash, a lot of good classic stories about modern day version Flash. Wally West is a go-to one for that. And a majority of his run as The Flash is pretty much in trade. Thanks to the runs by Mark Waid and Jeff Johns. Those are pretty much been close to collecting trade. They brief run them by Warren Ellis and Grant Morrison. And I believe the first year the book has been put into trade. But not Mr. Loeb's run. Yeah, his run is not in trade. Now, this version of Wally West from what I heard online from some viewers, this got a negative reaction. Because apparently DC was doing this thing where they took classic characters and just turned black for no reason. Like, he's not the only one they did this to. They also did to Richard Dragon and the Huntress. And with the Huntress, some people thought that she was Misty Knight when she first showed up. Though they did fix her later on, thank God for that. Like, I'm not sure what the artist was thinking of making her black, because the Huntress is Italian. Wally West is a white guy with red hair. Why the heck they rechristened me black makes no freaking sense. Also, this also makes no sense. Okay, Iris is white, and yet her nephew is black. Now, when you see Daniel West, apparently, like, if you read like the original artwork that he was in in the debut storyline reverse, which debuted him, he's white. And then here, they changed his skin color to black for some reason. Like, was Daniel West adopted? Though they didn't. Now, they say that he was Wally West's uncle. It was later retconned by Josh Williamson that Daniel West, the third verse Flash, was Wally's father. Yep, I have no idea why in the world they changed that for, but they did. Yes, despite the fact that he was clearly his uncle. Nope, he's actually his father. Why the heck they retconned that, I have no idea. Now this character is still around. Now I like the fact that when he became, now it seemed though toward the end of this volume, they had this thing where they pretty much were forcing the idea he was going to become Kid Flash. Look at Williamson basically kind of gradually became Kid Flash. It wasn't like right away. He did it during the course of the first story arc of his run, which was really good, by the way. The Godstorm storyline, which was awesome. Yep. Now, Wally West was made into a punk kid. Basically, a stereotypical version of people who are black. People who are criminals. Yes, it is a stereotypical thing that has been around since, I don't know, the 60s. That when people think of people who are black, which in my opinion is an outdated stereotype, but people in media love doing this. So apparently, I think Robert Venditti must have thought this was an interesting idea. Just reskin Wally West, change his skin black and his hair, probably for propaganda purposes. Though they did later on bring back Wally West, the actual one. Now, this guy is basically always for as Wallace. Not Wally, Wallace. And apparently, like the original Wally West, he's named after his grandfather. Though his full name is Wallace West II, which makes no frickin' sense at all. Yeah. And the whole point of this first arc of this storyline involving the Blue Flash in the future, it's basically trying to prevent this Wally West's death and try and seal up a time rift. By the end of this story arc, that's accomplished. And the evil Flash simply put stays in the past. Though, first thing he does in the future, he goes and kills Gorilla Grodd. How? Well, he electrifies him. They also had this thing apparently where Central Cities were coming from some kind of massive attack. I mean, they did that in, like, right after the Guerrilla Warfare storyline, but last minute the Keystone Killer didn't miss the police department that much, but apparently it did. That's according to what Robert Venditti did. Yep, and we have Barry face off against criminals who's got these gravity guns, basically trying to immobilize him. This technically is his weakness, but not really. Now, my guess is the reason Venditti wrote this in here was because on the Just League Unlimited TV show and the two-parter Star-Crossed, we had Wally taken down by this same type of gun. And he must have thought, though, that was stupid. I'm changing it here where he can actually overwhelm it no problem. That's just my personal theory. And also, for some reason, these guys look dressed very similar to the Silver Fox from Marvel Comics. Why the heck that Brett Booth dressed in this way, I have no idea. Yep. Now, after fighting him, yes, after the Blue Flash fights Gorilla Grodd, he removes his head. Yep. he pretty much uses the Speed Force to basically blow up his head, Suicide Squad style. No, I'm not going to show it because it's very graphic. Because, oh, let's have this Flash kill off his villains. Then we had this one guy. I'm not sure who this guy is. I think it's Murmur, I think it is. Yeah, so some of these villains pop up in this arc. I don't... Not one of the classic villains, per se. Then we have Mirror Master. Yep, coming out of the display case. And then he, of course, is killed by the Blue Flash. They show it later on. Yeah, he's the second one he kills. Wally, of course, is being a punk, basically, notice to his aunt. Mirror Master's later killed. If I can get this properly. Here we go. I'm breaking all of his mirrors, and basically him come with mirrors. Yep, and, well, Mirror Master's dead. Now it's up to Captain Cold. This one's not a little better, where he just basically just politely like, oh crap, oh hi Leonard, you look better. Yep, meanwhile though, Barry is faced off against some other monster. Like some other villain that flashes the flight. Also, one thing I did have a problem with Venditti's run was that most of the run, the rogues never showed up at all. So I'm like, really? No appearance by the rogues, except for, like... So apparently, Barry basically gives Captain Cold a merciful death. So, he's the last one he kills. And of course, while Barry and Wally start bonding, kind of forming the bond they were formed as Flash and Kid Flash. Supposedly, that's what is implied here. And then we have, like, Barry face off against... Actually, it's not Barry, it's actually the Trickster. Yep. He kills the Trickster by throwing him off a building. Yep. A frickin' building. Why the heck he thought this was a good idea? I have no idea. Yep, because this Flash is evil. Yep, make this Flash evil. So, they find out this person's a killer. And this was an odd storyline to do. And then, of course, the storyline ends basically with the timeline being fixed. Yep, timeline's fixed, and we have this future, basically 5 years in Future's End, where Barry kills Daniel, aka the Reverse Flash. Yeah, there's actually an issue of Flash that leads into the Future's End one-shot because Barry runs there and runs back. Yep. And during the 5 years later stuff, Barry kills Daniel. Yep, kills Daniel. But don't worry, he's still in jail in present day. What do they do with him? Well, he went over New Suicide Squad. He was there for about a year. Then they killed him off in the annual. Yep, they killed him off. Why? Probably because there's no plans for him. And here's the thing. Wally never found out about his death until Williamson. He must have known about this. So he basically made it a two-part storyline where Flash ran to Captain Boomerang and brought Daniel with him and revealed, oh yeah, the fact that he's actually dead. He died via an explosion. Like, how the heck he supposedly died? Like, the thing is, they never confirmed he was actually like, oh yeah, he's dead. Because he couldn't run out of explosion. Like, okay. Like, he was out in the middle of the water. He could have just gone underneath the water. Supposedly to avoid it. It's possible, but they never confirm it. Yep, so for the past 6 years, they pretty much said, oh yeah, Danny West is dead. Yep. So, and then we have Barry meet Future Barry, where he basically reveals, oh yeah, the whole thing he evolved from the future, and the fact that he was taught basically to kill by various people. Like he was taught by Deathstroke, Lady Shiva, and frickin' Batman. Yep. And then, of course, the storyline has a version of Wally West show up. He wears this weird attire. And no, this is not his actual Flash outfit. Nope, it just basically, from looking at it, it looks like an alternate version of the Wally West outfit that Rebirth basically would give the actual Wally West. So the storyline ends with Barry being trapped in the Speed Force. Yep, the Speed Force. Yep, and don't worry, he's not there very long. Because with the very next story arc, he's actually out. Yep, he's out of the Speed Force. In this 5-part storyline that pretty much basically just takes up the rest of this book. Now, they also include Secret Wars number 7, which simply put kind of a reimagine of the classic Silver Age story. Though this arc does accomplish one thing. Now, still the same creative team. Robert Venditti, Ben Jensen, Brad Booth. And the thing is, the whole storyline is wrapped up here. Basically, Blueberry, well, the Blue Flash, is defeated. And, of course, Barry, of course, escapes and Speed Force defeats him. And, of course, that's the future this guy came from, so raises him. And then Patty Spivot, who basically knew the fact that this Flash was evil, couldn't stand him, and apparently couldn't stand Barry, so they broke up. And that's last see of Patty Spivot. Yeah, she leaves the end of issue 40. And by the way, this was back in 2015 that this happened. This was 5 years ago. Yes, it has been 5 years since we've seen Patty Spivot in a Flash comic book. And has she ever returned? Nope. Never has. She has left the comic book, and she was never seen again. Though, one thing cool about the ending of this particular book, and, like, it is so great the fact that they did this. Yeah. Like, right after basically that the Blue Flash is defeated, we have the return of a classic character. Like, pretty much they had this character in the Speed Force who associated with this guy. Let's see. Professor Zoom will teach you. Yes, that is in fact the Reverse Flash. This is Eobard Thawne. By the way, Williamson later confirmed in story that, yes, this is the same Eobard Thawne the Flash has been fighting since the 60s. Yes, the same guy. Despite the fact it's a different costume. Yes, it's a different costume. Yeah, basically, believe it or not, like, after this storyline, apparently, like, he shows up in The Button, where he's back to his classic Silver Age costume, and this look is still canon, believe it or not. And people are thinking, wait, this is Zoom? This is a.k.a. Eobard Thawne, the original Reverse Flash. Not the rival, I'm not counting him. The original Reverse Flash. The man who killed Nora Allen. Same guy, and who shows up Williamson's run. And this particular version is, this look is canon. It's an alternate look for him. Though it's very much a rushed job of how, like, I like the fact to keep the yellow, which was great. They made the lightning bolt very tiny. And it's a very odd look for the Reverse Flash. Yeah, anybody can tell, despite the fact he calls himself Zoom, this is clearly Reverse Flash. This is Eobard Thawne. Zoom was his nickname from the future. Though I like the fact that the end of this does set up that story arc. And, well, now overall, this whole arc involving the evil Flash future, this was interesting, to say the least. I think the problem was, it was too long. It was if you count the Future's End issue, which is part of this storyline, this is roughly 12 issues. And the thing is, Venditti dedicated the first year of his run to this storyline. And then have the whole thing with Reverse Flash, and then Full Stop, which is basically finally show up the Rogues, and of course Babe Ruth already left the book by then. And that was the end of basically Venditti's run. So I would say for the start, it was interesting to say the least, though I think that the whole thing with Wally West, and my guess is because of the backlash this version of Wally West got, that's probably the reason why that 2 years after this storyline wrapped up, that after this Wally West showed up, they brought like the actual Wally West in DC Rebirth. Yes, Jeff Johns did that, which, that was amazing. He did that, though they later screwed him up in Heroes of Crisis. Thank you, Tom King, for doing that. Though Tom King himself got death threats over that particular series. But in the case of this was an interesting start. Though, if you can kind of say any ramifications that came from this, was that the return of Eobard Thawne and the end of the Barry Allen Patty Spivot relationship, which has been going on since the start of this volume. Yeah, it's been going on since the start. My guess is that maybe some writers, some people at DC probably felt as though this relationship was a bad idea. That people really wanted him hooked back up with his actual love interest, Iris. And well, he does. Yep. He's back together with her finally. They're not married yet per se, but yeah, they're back together. Venditti himself would only be on the book for another 12 issues before finally leaving the book in 2016. At the end of the book for roughly about almost 2 years. Yeah, he was on the book almost as long as Fantasy Medical by Buccellato. It was an interesting run to say the least. I think the only problem with the run is I think a lot of people probably... I think there are some people... Now, I don't have a really big problem with Brad Booth's artwork. I think some people would really turn him off in this run with Brad Booth's artwork. Yes, I think because people got eyesore from probably when he was doing Teen Titans. That they probably got turned off in this run. That's probably also the reason why Brad Booth left, because people are probably not liking his artwork. I don't have a really big problem with his artwork. It's just that, well, I think he did an okay job drawing the Flash. I think he did a really good job with it. Not much problem there. But overall, let's see. Let's go through the final thoughts on Flash Volume 4. Had a good start to it. Had a pretty decent ending to the run. It was only 52 issues and had 3 annuals. And it had a handful of one-shot features. And a one-shot of Gorilla Grodd, Reverse Flash, and the Rogues. Which was good for the most part. And the fact that I believe it was... I think it was Francis Manapul. I think the creative team of Flash, they wrote Rogues Rebellion for Forever Evil, which you can kind of consider that part of this run too. But all in all, in the case of Flash Volume 4, unlike in the case of Green Arrow, this one had a pretty good direction with it. And it wasn't like the writer kept changing their mind every freaking issue. Yeah, that was a really big problem with Green Arrow from 2011 up until like last year. Like throughout the entirety of the first volume he had on the current continuity and the previous volume, he had no real direction, and the fact that the writers kept changing frequently, and the fact also no one had any idea what to do with Green Arrow. He was never consistently. Flash, in her hand, 52 straight issues reading very consistently. Nothing's ignored in here. Not really, no. And Williamson kept up with this particular style when he took over the book in 2016. Though I think he since left the book. Yeah, I think he left, that's interesting to say the least. But all in all, what do I give the two trades of Flash Volume 6 and 7? I give them both roughly a 9 out of 10. So yeah, that's it for Sigla Review. I'm going to go straight to Is It Wrong Time Girl's Dungeon next. Yep. And then I'm going to do my review for it, which I think I should get time to do it. And then I'll probably save the rest of the anime stuff for tomorrow. But in this video. Bye.